Okay, so we're live. So today I have Indiana Backyard Gardener with me, and we're going to be talking about the things that beginner gardeners need to know. So we're going to be talking about tips and information about beginner gardeners. So if you want to stay tuned for, we'll do a part two, and it'll be on her channel, another live. So you make sure you look in the chat, and you can find her link, but I'll also put it in the description too. So if you want to tell us, Indiana Backyard Gardener, about where you live, how you grow, and what your zone is first.
Sure. Hello, Pit Stop Kitchen and Garden. How are you? I am in Zone 5B, Indiana, obviously, and I grow in ground. I grow in containers. I grow in raised beds. I grow in anything and anywhere that I can grow. So I just recently got a greenhouse, so I grow in there too now.
Hey, Ann. I want to make sure I say hey to Ann. Too. Tell us also about your zone.
5B. So it's probably, I'm right in the Midwest, and my frost dates are, my growing times are usually probably 180 days or so is probably my growing time I probably have. Mm-hmm. So right now it's pretty cold outside and windy.
Okay. Oh, okay. And also for me, I live on a little less than a quarter acre. I always mention that. I'm in 7B. I live near Memphis, Tennessee. And we grow in all three methods. We grow in the ground, we grow in raised beds, and we also have some containers, not too many. And that's my conditions. So let's go to the first question. And if you guys have any questions when you join, feel free to let us know and we'll answer those too. So first, we're going to talk about what are the best apps, websites, books, or anything for beginners to get started. So do you want me to answer that first, or you can have that?
I just have basically one resource that is always my go-to, and that's just the Farmer's Almanac. I heavily rely on the Farmer's Almanac.
Okay.
Hi, Whitey Davy. How are you?
Davy. Oh, that's good that you were able to join.
Yes, glad to join.
So my resources are, the app that I found that's really useful is From Seed to Spoon. You can find your frost dates in there. You can find different plants, about the seed death, how much watering, about pests. It shows you pictures. So it's a really useful app. And I'm trying to think if there's any websites. Oh, I also want to say, make sure when you're gardening for the first time, you can start trying to find community gardens. So other people that are a little bit more knowledgeable can help you out. And also your exchange or your local extension, they can help you as well. And then don't neglect Facebook groups too. Gardening groups that are in your actual state and in your city sometimes. I would love I will have the live running in the background, but I won't be participating. Well, thank you. But at any point, if you guys have anything to share, tips for what you learned your first year, or the methods that you use, or anything, make sure you feel free to chime in. Okay, so next we're going to talk about location, the growing zone, and sun exposure. So for location, I know if you're going to be growing we both have homes that we're growing on. And so you want to make sure that you plant in the south. And the north is going to get the least amount of sunlight. But if you can't do on the south facing, you can do east or west. But it's just going to decrease the amount of sun exposure that you get when you do that. And you have anything to say about that?
Well, I wanted to add, for location, you want to make sure that your garden is in a place where you regularly see it. Because we all know the saying, out of sight, out of mind. And if you're not always seeing your garden and keeping tabs on what's going on in your garden, then you probably are not going to be out there as much as you'd like.
Right. Yeah. And so that's really good too. And then also about growing zones. I'm trying to think of what we need to say about growing zones, but it's always important to find out what your growing zone is, because that's going to lead to what we talked about next, about the frost date. And first, what is frost? Do you want to explain it, or?
Well, frost is basically it's the moisture that's in the air. So when let's say you live like in a valley type of situation where you're not elevated as much, you're probably least likely to get that frost, because what it is, it's a pooling of the moisture that in the air, and then if it freezes, then that's where you get the frost.
Mm-hmm. And so, hello, Carp Upstream. I'm glad that you were able to join. And Anne says, I watched a few British channels before I started my garden. Okay, so is that like British TV shows? Maybe Garden Channel? Trying to show. And also, if you can have any specific recommendations on what people should watch. But back to about the frost. The frost date, there's always 32 degrees is what is known as frost. So there's certain plants that can do well with a light frost, and there's certain as well that can do with a heavy freeze with like ice and things like that. And so it's very important to know your frost date, because you need to know if what you have is going to survive, and if you have to take the measures to do the, roll covers or do anything to prolong it, or if you need to, like you have a greenhouse, bring your things into the greenhouse before that date. But the frost date, what were you going to say?
I was going to say frost dates are important too, because you have to know when you're going to start your seeds. So right. You have to know your first frost date, your last frost date, and your first frost date.
Right. And also I wanted to say that, let's see, I think I might have forgot it. But the frost date is not set in stone. So it's not like on this day. So usually they say it can be 2 weeks before or after. And so you just have to make sure when you know that it's coming, that you just pay attention to the weather.
Mm-hmm. I have a video on my channel about how to know and how to predict when the frost, if you're going to have frost.
I remember that video. Yeah, I saw that video. That was a good one. Okay. And so next we were going to talk about the water accessibility. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Did we miss any comments? Oh, you just looked on YouTube for some of the channels. Okay. Okay. So do you have anything to say about water accessibility, about in Indiana or in your zone?
Basically, water accessibility is going to help with the success of your garden, because you want to make sure that you have water available or accessible, like easily accessible, I should say, when you need to water your garden. So if you don't have a hose or a drip irrigation or some type of way to get water to your garden, then it's going to be a task and a chore, and it's not going to be something that you enjoy doing when you have to lug or carry or haul water cans, or going back and forth multiple times to fill water cans to try to get your garden watered. But if you have an easily accessible water source, then it's not going to be such a task.
Right. One thing I just want to add to that is where I live, basically every state has their average rainfall. And so where we live, it's a lot more. So we're able to have water catchments. And that's one of the things that you can have, because rainwater is going to be better than your own tap water, which is going to have different chemicals and things that they put into it, or even your bottled water, it has the added things for flavor. So it's always better to have the rainfall if you can. And I was able to find, if you don't have much space, they have some actual collapsible water catchment containers. So I just wanted to put that out there. And let's see, do you have anything else to put? Oh, you wanted to talk about the mulch on that, right?
When you're starting your garden out, after you get your plants established, you want to definitely mulch them, because that's going to cut back on the amount of watering that you're going to have to do. You definitely want to always cover your soil, because you don't want it to dry out, and you don't want your plants to dry out. The sun will definitely beat down on that soil, and it will just bake it, and you'll have to water more often than you'd like.
Right.
Whereas if you mulch it, you're definitely going to be feeding your soil, for one, and you're going to be retaining a lot of that moisture in your garden.
Yeah, and one thing also is where we live, I think it's about 13 inches more rainfall than the average in the US. So we have a lot of rain. And so for some plants
Wow.
like tomatoes, that's not good because they can split. And so there's things like perlite that you can add to help with the drainage and also with the sand. And it also depends if you're growing in ground, like we have clay soil, that's going to pool all the water. So it really depends on what you have in your soil to see what you need to add or, take away. So, the mulch could be a good thing, but it can be a bad thing depending on where you live. And do we have any new gardeners in here?
Hey,
And where did you
TT.
find your information? Oh,
TT the Urban Pantry.
yeah. Hey, TT.
And Rodney.
Okay.
Parker.
Okay.
Oh, you're watching from the greenhouse.
Well, that's really good. We were talking about the greenhouse earlier too. Okay.
That's great.
And do you guys have any tips about location, frost dates, or anything for new gardeners as well? And next, you want to talk about about soil and some of the other mediums. If you don't want to really mess with soil indoors, you can do hydroponics or aquaponics. Do you have anything to say about those?
Well, I don't do a lot of hydroponics or aquaponics. I never have. I never had a real big desire to get into that, but I do propagate things in water. So I know that things do grow in just water because, matter of fact, I had tried to save some tomato seeds from my sweet million tomatoes. And you know how when you save tomato seeds, you have to soak them first in water,
right,
and then let them ferment or whatever, and then rinse them and let them dry. And there's a whole process. So I put them in the water and I forgot about them, and then they all sprouted.
Hey, Vess, yeah. Also with the cucurbits, so like cucumbers and stuff is the process too. And so those are kind of messy.
Yeah.
Especially tomato seeds, they're so small. But that's good that you had that good germination.
Sprouted.
Right.
Hey, Bessie at Journey.
Yeah, as you guys join, do you have any tips, or if you guys have answers to the questions we're putting up, let us know.
She has a question.
Okay. Did I miss it?
She hasn't posted it yet.
Oh,
What is the question?
Yeah, what's your question? Okay. So let's talk about some of your favorites. Let's talk about some of your favorite seeds, if you have any companies.
I definitely like Baker's Creek, and that's because they have free shipping. So I love to order from places that have free shipping. And then Baker Creek seeds are always really good. You just don't get a lot sometimes when you order from Baker Creek, and that's just one of the downfalls.
And they're heirloom seeds too, all heirloom.
They are, yes, they are heirloom seeds. That's another plus. MI Gardner is one that I order from too, because his seeds are all 99 cents, and you usually get a nice good quantity of seeds with him. And then also Haas Tools is another one I order from because their germination rate is really good, and they also give you a lot of seeds. So I like to get the most for my money, and Haas Tools does that. So
okay, you got a question.
Okay, I'm in Indiana, planted garlic, and it's covered with straw. Should I put one of the frost beds over it for the winter? No. Garlic is going to go dormant for the winter. It's fine. It's going to continue to grow. And when the soil starts to warm back up again, it'll start to establish more roots. But you don't have to cover garlic. You definitely don't. As long as you got that straw to insulate the bed or the container or wherever it is that you're growing it, as long as you have that insulated, you'll be fine. You don't have to cover it.
Okay. And then there's another question. Let's see. Oh, no. She says, I never soaked my tomato seeds. Okay.
Oh.
So were you going to say something?
Yeah, that I didn't. Those were not seeds that I bought. Those were seeds that I was saving. That was probably what.
Oh, that's what they're saying. Oh,
yeah,
right.
Yeah, I don't soak my tomato seeds before I plant them. No, I don't. Right. I was talking about when I was saving seeds. I have a sweet million, or I had a sweet million tomato plant, but I wanted to save those seeds. So when you save seeds, there's definitely a process to go through when you're saving tomato seeds. But planting them, no, you have to soak them.
Okay. And then we have another question. Ronnie says, I'm saving some sweet potato slips. Anyone had luck keeping them till next year? I know that people specifically do keep them inside. I think it was Gigi's Natural Homestead. She brought them inside and she just has them as an indoor plant. And so when you're ready to plant them, then you can just put them outside. But yeah, you can definitely have them inside. They like those temperatures.
Yeah, sweet potato slips. You can keep them alive inside as an indoor plant until you get ready to plant them outside.
Mm-hmm.
The greens are edible, so you can eat those leaves, and you know what I mean, so that the plant doesn't get out of control. You can eat those leaves and harvest those leaves in the meantime, and then when you're ready to plant those outside, then you can go ahead and take it outside, and it won't be like this whole big overgrown plant. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Right. And Carp says, very informative. You gals know what's up. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see. Oh, she said, hey, Ann. Something I want to mention too, when you're soaking seeds, you can soak seeds before you plant them. Usually for the bigger seeds, it also just helps with the germination to speed it up. So I know you can do that for like beets, for instance. So that's something that you can do as well. Ann says, mine are seeds I saved too. Okay. I think you can always just dry them, but I think the germination is better and you'll know which ones are viable. So you'll get a better germination rate from your seeds that you do soak, like with the tomatoes or the cucumbers and watermelon and all that, because after you soak them for a couple of days, you'll have some that float and some that sink, and you'll know which ones are the best ones. So you can always do it in an easier method, but I think it just helps make sure that the seeds that you plant, all of them will pretty much sprout. Did you want to say anything, Indiana?
Nope.
That's okay. It. So we were talking about favorite brands of seeds. Did you have any more you wanted to mention?
No, those are my top 3. Yeah.
That's it? Baker Creek?
Those are my top 3.
And anybody else had any seeds that you guys like? So for me personally, I think my favorite is Everwild Farms. And I like theirs because they let you know the germination rate on all the packages on the back. So 90%, 95%. And I find that their germination is better than what they say. And they all come in refillable packages. So I find that even though I bought them a while ago, I still pretty much don't have any kind of spotty germination. They always germinate. They're really good. So, and they're pretty affordable too. I like to get their organic seeds. Any soil that you like to use?
I basically do a compost. I don't purchase soil.
Mm-hmm.
I either make my own compost or I get compost from my county. Sometimes you can contact your local county or, like you said, your extension office,
mm-hmm.
and you can find out that they do have resources for you to be able to get compost for your garden. My county actually gives it for free, so I don't have to pay for it. I can go there and I can load up as much as I want, and it's all free for me. But some counties will charge for it. But all counties should have some type of program where they collect leaves through the fall and they take that back to a compost site and they make compost with that.
Right. Well, oh, hey, Diva Jones. And Ronnie says, thanks, ladies. Madam Bell. Do you know how to pronounce that? Madam Bell.
Madam Bell.
Sweet potatoes leaf dish. Yeah. Ronnie was asking about overwintering the sweet potatoes.
That sounds great. I love greens. I love all types of greens.
Okay. Oh, good to see you. Thank you, everybody who joined. And we're asking if you have any tips for beginners. Some of the questions we asked about, your favorite seed companies, or let's see, or things that you learned about water accessibility, and let everybody know what your zone is in here. I think that'll be useful. Hey, Triple H. Okay, let's see. Back to what we're talking about. And also, do you have any fertilizers that you recommend, or you just use your own compost again?
I kind of make organic fertilizer. I make a banana compost tea, which is very rich in phosphorus and potassium, obviously. So I use banana compost tea. I do have a video on my channel about that. And then I also just incorporated rabbit manure I bought 2 rabbits over the summer, and I collect the rabbit manure as fertilizer. And if you don't know that rabbit manure is the best manure for your garden because it's a cold manure, it's not a hot manure, so it's not going to burn the roots of your plants. You can put it directly on the garden, or you can use it like a manure tea. And rabbit manure is 2 times better than chicken manure and 4 times better than horse manure because it has everything in it. It has it has the nitrogen, it has the phosphorus, not to mention it has calcium and copper and zinc and all kinds of other macronutrients that your plants need. So it's a really well-rounded fertilizer, and that's pretty much all I use.
I had no clue about all of that. And I did know that you can use it right away, which is really good because of course with, like the other ones you mentioned, like for chickens, you have to wait before you put it on there.
Yeah.
You're going to burn.
You have to compost that, or otherwise it'll burn your roots.
Right. So some people have said their zone. So Love Lady is an 8B. Oh, hi, Love Lady. Love Lady. I didn't even say hi. Beshiat is an 8A in Columbia, South Carolina.
Yeah, there's some warm zones.
Right. Zone 9, Rodney. He asks, y'all ever started any local seed swaps?
I would love to do a local seed swap, but with the current situation, I just don't feel comfortable with that right now. My county and my area is like in a red state of zone right now, with the COVID and all that. But I definitely would love to do something like a seed swap.
Okay. And Carp Upstream says, oh, and for me, no, I haven't. Fish parts are good as well, nitrogen rich. How do you use it, Carp? I've seen people where they just dig like a big hole before they plant things like maybe tomatoes, they'll put like a fish head in there. I've seen them put fish head and then like lime to keep like things like raccoons or something from digging up. Have you tried any fish like the tank water, anything like that, Indiana?
I do. Yeah, my husband has a fish tank, an aquarium.
Mm-hmm.
So when he cleans out the protein skimmer and when he cleans out the waste from under the tank, I don't put it right in my plants, but I do have it in my compost. So I do put that into my compost. It's like a fish emulsion almost. Right. But the difference between fish emulsion and then the fish waste is that fish emulsion is actually the whole fish. So you can also do like sardines. If you have a can of sardines in water, sardines are really inexpensive. They're like $1 a can or something like that. But if you take a can of sardines and empty that out in your planting hole, I have done that before.
And I think Pit Stop Kitchen and Garden also did that as well. I wanted to ask if anyone has tried aquaponics that is in here. Okay, so let's go. Oh, and I didn't answer. So for me, for soils, I like Kellogg soil a lot. I find that their soils are like the best. And when you open it, it smells really bad. It smells like, fresh manure, but it works really well. And for fertilizers, I just started doing composting. I don't really keep up with fertilizing like I should. Usually I'll do it at the beginning and then usually nothing afterwards. So but maybe next year I'll try to do better with the fertilizing. But definitely, I do think maybe I might talk to you a little bit more about some of the rabbits. I think that might be something I would want to do.
Yeah, and it's really inexpensive to raise.
Oh yeah, I've seen their feed is actually pretty comparable to chicken feed, but they might not. How much do they eat? Do you know?
Well, I feed them like like one of those little half-pint milk cartons like they get at maybe school or wherever they give the little kids, the little milk cartons. So I cut the top off of that, and they get one of those a day. So like a half pint of maybe it might be a little over a cup of food per rabbit per day.
Oh, that's not that much at all. And then, of course, scraps and everything. Okay. Yes. Oh, I didn't hear what you said.
They also eat hay. The majority of the food is hay.
Oh, okay. So he says, yes, that's Native Americans use that technique.
Exactly.
Betty said no, she does. She doesn't do no aquaponics. No, I haven't tried aquaponics. And Rodney says, ever. I guess if you ever had any smell issues or animals attracted with the fish. The method that I mentioned with the fish head, and they put lime on top of it, and that just helps to cover up the smell. So have you had any problems with like the fish emulsion?
I have not.
Mm-hmm. I think it kind of deters them because it's just really strong and smelly. But and thank you, Beshette. Okay, so let's see what we're going to talk about next. So already we talked about the frost date, water accessibilities, soil, and so next is what are the best plants to grow for beginners? If you guys have any plants that you recommend as well, or ones that are specific to your zone too, leave a comment. So do you have your suggestions first?
Well, you definitely want to grow things that you eat.
Right.
Like, as a beginner gardener, you can get a little overwhelmed with everything that you want to grow, but you want to grow things that your family's going to eat. Right. And you don't want to grow anything that's going to be very high maintenance. So to start out, you want to grow like lettuce and leafy greens and things because they grow fast and you can continue to harvest them and they will continue to grow. Lettuce pretty much will grow in anything and anywhere. You can grow lettuce indoors, you can grow lettuce outdoors. Lettuce is really easy to grow. Tomatoes are like weeds. I think it'd be easy for everyone to grow tomatoes because tomatoes, they voluntarily grow and
right.
They grow anywhere and you know what I mean? You don't even have to plant them. They just grow. Tomatoes are pretty easy too.
Okay. I think my suggestions will be also if you're growing indoors to maybe try like microgreens. Those are something that's really easy. They don't take up much space and they're really nutritious. You can add them into a lot of your dishes. If you're growing outside, like I know TT Urban Pantry, she says she's taking notes. I recommend it to her to grow alliums because things don't bother her quite as much as maybe like cabbage or something like that. And they're really easy. Once you get them to sprout, they don't have too much watering that they need. They're pretty low maintenance. Like garlic only has actually 2 pests. And and Besh said too, tomatoes are a lot of maintenance. Yeah, they can be. Tomatoes, I do if you do like single stem pruning. But so what do you recommend?
For a determinate variety.
Oh, yes, and determinate, yes.
A determinate variety of a tomato will stay a certain size, and you can keep it that size, whereas an indeterminate tomato will get as big as you let it get, and it'll just keep going.
Right. Yeah, that's true, too. So I'm trying to think. So yeah, like the alliums, I definitely say to go with like onions or garlic. They're very easy. You don't have to even go to a seed company. You can go for garlic. You can just go and get some from the store as well. So that's what I did. Easy. And I also said microgreens. I'm trying to think of anything else that
radishes.
Radishes, yes. Yeah, radishes because they're quick growing. So
yes,
as a new gardener to be excited when you only have to wait like a month.
Quick turnaround with radishes.
Oh, and herbs. Herbs are very low maintenance. They grow abundantly.
Definitely herbs.
Right.
Even flowers.
Right. So David Joel said, teach me how to maintain mine. Yeah, because they're hard to keep up with sometimes. But I guess it depends, like you said, on if you're growing determinate or indeterminate.
Right. You can grow like a patio variety.
Right.
Patio variety of tomato will stay a very small size. It's not going to get, super tall. It's not going to get super bushy. It's a patio tomato, so it's going to stay small.
Yeah, and if you live in an apartment and you have a balcony, that's the kind of things that you can grow. Things that don't take up much space, like the alliums as well, and the herbs, they don't take up much space at all.
And once you learn how to prune it, hey, you definitely have to.
Is there any that you give specifically for growing more apartment growing as well? What people can get started? The lettuces you said also.
Lettuce would be good for an apartment grower because you can grow it in anything and anywhere. It has very shallow root system. Spinach is a little bit more finicky because you really have to get the right growing conditions for spinach. Sometimes it's really hard to germinate spinach. But what I would recommend is when you're a beginner gardener, I wouldn't recommend starting from seed. I would recommend starting with actual plant starts that you get from a nursery or somebody else might have started from seed, because that way it's already at an established rate, and then you just have to maintain it.
Right. And you can also regrow from scraps. So you can regrow from scraps of lettuce. You can regrow and get, green onions from different scraps of the onion. You can do that also with the potatoes. Do you think potatoes are something good for first-time gardeners too?
Potatoes need a lot of space, I think.
I've seen a lot of people grow them like in laundry hampers, pretty much just anything that you can kind of just go kind of tall with it.
Like a deep, yeah, that's what I mean. Like they need a deep space.
Right, yeah.
To be able to, they produce all those tubers, so they need to be able to branch out.
Right, yeah. So let's see. Hey y'all, I just woke up. Good to see. Oh, what about some container trees? Do you have any, Indiana?
I don't, not yet. I almost bought some fruit trees this past fall, but I didn't like the way they looked. The local farmers market always has fruit trees in the fall, buy one, get one free. And I do want to incorporate fruit trees, but I have not yet.
Okay, there's too many gardeners in here for there to be no suggestions. So Diva Jones, Pit Stop, Kitchen and Garden, Best Yet, GG Naturals. Come on, help the beginners out. What do you think they should grow?
I think Swiss chard is good.
Did you say?
Swiss chard is another good one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because it grows good in hot and it grows good in cold.
Right. It's Swiss chard is actually, they say, the most heat tolerant of all of the greens.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. So next we can talk about for space and square foot gardening. Did you want to talk first about that, or?
You can start off.
Okay. So with the space, there's a lot of things that you can plant multiple within a square foot. So I'm going to be talking about square foot gardening, obviously. Or you can plant some things like cabbage. They need one. I find that even with the square foot gardening, some things they say like zucchini needs 1 foot, and I find it's more like 2 to 3 feet. But if you have small amount of space, things like onion and garlic, you can plant about 8 to 9. Root crops like carrots, usually it's about 9. Bean plants, I think it's 9 or 8, depending on if it's a bush variety or if it's the pole beans. And also peas, you can plant, I think it's 8. So that's one thing that you can do if you don't have much space, but you want to grow something. And beans are really productive. You can get a lot. And I also believe that you can get more from pole beans, though, than bush beans as well. And so do you have anything to add about the square foot gardening?
I just wanted to make mention the pole beans actually last longer than the bush beans. The pole beans will keep producing all the way until the first frost. So if you have a bush plant, it's going to produce and it's going to be done. But if you have a pole bean plant, it's going to keep going and keep going and keep producing until that first frost comes and kills it.
Right.
So if you can get the most production out of pole beans. Space-wise, you want to consider how much space your plants are going to take up. So if you know you don't have a lot of space, but you want to grow things that take up a lot of space, consider putting them in their own containers and separating them. Okay. Or trellising them. There's a lot, you can gain a lot of space by trellising your plants.
Right, yeah, especially for things like watermelon.
Yes, like watermelon, cucumbers. Definitely, there's some squash plants.
Right, what were we going to say?
There are squash plants that vine.
Right. All the cucurbits, like all the melons you can grow. Yeah.
You can definitely
make sure we say hello to Gardening with Joy.
Hello, everyone who just came in.
Yes. Okay. Let's see what some suggestions were. So Diva Jones says celery. You're talking about growing from scraps. I remember you told me make sure you start from scraps. It's much easier because celery takes, I think, 130 days. So, and it's also one of the hardest things to grow, like to get to germinate. The seeds are so tiny.
Yeah. Not only that, but
Mhm.
then you have to blanch it before you harvest it.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know. And I'm like, I've never tried to grow celery, but I heard that before 2 to 3 weeks before you harvest it, you have to blanch it. And I'm totally lost with that.
Well, I do know they say that you need to water it good the day before too, so that it can really, because it's one of those things that holds a lot of moisture. And so if
Okay.
you want the really good, juicy celery stalks, that's what you do the day before. Let's see. Beshiet says peppers. Yes, that's another one. Peppers, I think that's one of the things I started with. And I think bell peppers or any of the peppers, the hot peppers are the most productive, but all of them are really good to start with. And they only take up 1 square foot. And that's something that really doesn't need more than a square foot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see. Anne says, oh, she just says hello. Okay, let's see.
Anyone planting cool weather legumes?
Oh, I'm trying to keep up with the comments. Let me see. I think this one came up first. If you like mulberry or fig, those are my top beginner trees. Elderberry as well, because they are easy to grow and you can barely kill them and they propagate.
She said you can barely kill them.
Right. Those trees also do well in containers.
Okay.
My figs have been in containers for 7 years, no issues, and they produce well. Okay.
How big is the container, Diva Jones, for the fig?
Yeah, that's good.
That container.
That's good to know. And then the question that you were talking about, you want to read that one?
Anyone planting cool weather legumes? No, my cool weather is cold now, so I can't I'm in zone 5B. So as far as planting beans and things like that, I don't have time for that anymore.
Yes, because she's in, you said zone 5.
Yeah, the frost already took out my pole beans. So.
And you said yours is 6 months. Is it 6 months growing time?
Yeah,
mine is about 8 months. I would say it's more like, well, no, mine is 9 months, they say, but I think it's more like 10 months. But for me, no, that wasn't on my plan, but I just did beans for the first time and I definitely will do more. So I think I will look into the other ones, but I do think I will be planting more peas. And thank you.
Peas, yeah. I did plant peas.
And then she said, exactly right on pole beans. That's why I have them almost all year. Says I didn't, and mine is growing back. And then she says I planted sugar snaps, blanch. Wow. Okay. Oh, and I planted lentils as a cover crop.
That's a good idea.
That's something we didn't talk about either. But cover crops are good as well too, because you don't want the nutrients leaking out of the soil. You don't want the weeds coming in. And so
that's part of feeding your soil.
Okay. I'm going too early. Okay, let's see. True. My small peppers are flowering already. Yeah, I saw that you said you brought it to overwinter it and then it started giving you some more.
Herb Upstream is going to sleep.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Good night from the dark side of the planet. Good night, Herb Upstream.
Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go back and see what we missed. I don't blanch my celery. Oh, you don't have to do that? Oh, so that stopped you from growing it, then that's good. Because I didn't either. I was like, uh-oh.
I heard that you have to do that for some reason. Oh, because it keeps.
It may have been the watering. It may have been the watering. Water it before you harvest so that you can get better, more water in the stalks. Maybe that's what it was. You get way better nutrition without blanching. Okay. Yeah. And I like to eat it raw a lot too. GG Naturals, that's what commercial growers do. I plan to do a video on people not doing what commercial growers do.
Yeah, good for you.
Let's see. I'm not sure. Oh, she said me either. Not sure. Okay. Let's see. They blanch celery saying it keeps the flavor mild, but I like the full flavor of unblanched celery because I've never done it. So that's why I want to know that I'm doing it the right way. But that's why we have so many gardeners in here. And for the people who haven't, let everyone know where your zone is, or, you know, what your state is, what your zone is. So everybody can connect and find people that are doing what they want to do. So I guess, did we talk about selecting the plants? Is there anything to elaborate on that, or do you want to go to feed in the soil?
You just want to make sure that you select plants that are going to match your growing conditions. Like I don't want to plant something that I know I'm not going to have time. My growing season is not going to allow me to mature that plant. Like I can't grow, tropical plants in my zone because I just don't have that long of a growing season to mature those types of plants. So you want to pay attention to the varieties that will do well where you live.
Yeah.
That's why I always say beginners should start with starters, because those starters 9 times out of 10 come from a local nursery where those types of varieties do well in your area. So that's why I usually suggest that beginners start with starter plants.
So she says, what is a good organic soil to start with? So the soil that I like to get is Kellogg's, but I usually get that from Home Depot. But depending on where you live, you might not be able to get that. And right underneath you is Pit Stop Kitchen and Garden. Can you answer that question? I know that you got soil from the tomato lady, because they both are both in Las Vegas. So she might be a little better to answer that one.
The tomato lady.
Mm-hmm. Did you see that video?
No.
Okay, yeah, you definitely should. TT says she doesn't know your zone. I wonder if, so you said you're a 5B. I know it's 5 or 6 for Indiana, right? Do you know?
It depends. Yeah, it's anywhere from 5A to 5B, like the whole, state.
Okay. Do you know where maybe she can find that at?
You can Google it.
Yeah, that's what I did too. It'll just calculate it from your location.
I use Farmer's Almanac for pretty much everything. Farmer's Almanac is a great resource. You can get your growing zone. You can get how many days you have to grow. You can learn your frost dates. You can get all types of information on growing specific types of plants. There's garden layout tools. There's tons of information on the Farmer's Almanac website.
And also, Gardening with Joy, I had no idea you were in Zone 7 like me. Zone 7 is a hard one to find on YouTube. So Pit Stop Kitchen Garden, she's in Nevada. She's in Las Vegas.
Nevada.
Wow. So it's the Tomato Lady or Fox Farm. Okay. So that's what she recommends for you.
Yeah, I have heard of Fox Farm. I have heard of that. I think that's pretty good, because I think a lot of people use the Fox Farm.
Okay, and then we also have from London Zone 5A, Ann White. So just to piggyback on what you said about how it's important to, one, know if you have enough time to grow certain things. Because some perennials may not be a perennial in your zone. Some things that are not even recommended for your zone. Like for me, I wanted to do rhubarb, but I think it's from Zone 5 and colder, they actually say, for rhubarb. Like it gets too warm here. So it's really good to know that information beforehand, like you said. And also knowing how much space that you have. So if you only have maybe a balcony, you might not be able to, unless you, like you said, trellis things up, you might not be able to fit. Like for me, I don't have as much space. So I'm not going to grow the watermelons that can get 40 pounds. I'm not going to grow the pumpkins that are going to get 40 pounds or more. But I may grow the babies and I may just trellis them up. And so you just have to be mindful. And that's one thing I wanted to show. You can get, when you're not sure about what varieties to get, I have some here. You can get seed catalogs for free. So I got from Botanical Interest and Baker Creek. So you can just go through it, see how many days it's going to take, how much space it's going to take, and get a lot of information that way.
There's a lot of information on your seed packs too.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That will tell you how big that plant's going to get, how long it takes to mature. And then you have to take that into consideration when you are looking at how many days you have to grow. Right. So especially towards the middle of the summer, when you want to continue to succession plant, you want to make sure that you're going to have enough time to grow those.
Right. Yeah. So because that may be something that people think, oh, you can only grow it during this month, but no, you can't. You can depending on if you stagger it, like you said, just look at how many days and, look into when your frost is and all of that information. So thank you, Beshet. And then Gigi is in 8D in Tallahassee. Okay, so let's see what we're going to talk about next. Next is, oops, I skipped. Feeding the soil and the plants. So I know that you do more of the fertilizing, the natural organic method. So you can talk about what you like to do.
Well, I want to just mention that it's really important to feed your soil and not just your plants, because your soil is alive and it's full of microorganisms and different things that work together in and underneath the soil that benefit your plants, like mycorrhiza and different funguses. So like people will see mushrooms growing in their garden and they'll think that's a bad thing, when in actuality, it's not a bad thing. If you have mushrooms growing in your garden, that's a good thing, because that says that your soil is healthy and that it's alive. And you can't grow plants in dead soil. So now, being the fall, is the time to incorporate lots of organic matter into your soil, because that's going to decompose, it's going to break down, and it's going to feed your soil. You want to make sure that you're not only feeding your plants, but that you're feeding your soil.
Right, right. Oh, and so
Art Creation. Hello.
I think I actually found his channel, maybe from you. I'm not sure. I think you might have mentioned him.
Channel, yes.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay. Let's see. I think what she said is the best tip for beginners. You have to feed the soil, not really the plants. Yeah.
Yes.
So, do you want to talk about some of the methods that you use?
Well, I don't buy fertilizer at all. I don't buy any kind of chemical fertilizer. I don't put any chemicals in my garden at all. I'm totally organic. And I believe that we have enough resources in nature to provide everything that our plants need. Trees grow and the leaves fall, and then the next season they grow back on, and then they keep going in that same cycle. Our plants are the same way. If we feed the soil, the plants will grow. So what I do is I make like organic fertilizers. So I have a banana compost tea that I make. The rabbit manure is another really good one, because it's the best manure you can have. And leaves, yes, lots of leaves. When the fall comes around, those leaves, because those trees' roots go so deep down in the soil and pull all those nutrients that we can't even get to. They pull all those nutrients up and they go into those leaves. And then when those leaves fall every season, they fall to the ground and they decompose and they feed the soil. So when you are getting those leaves, collect those leaves. That's like gold. You can just make compost with just leaves. You don't need anything else. You can gather up your leaves, wet them, and make a leaf compost. It's actually called a leaf mold. And when that breaks down, you can take that and you can feed that to your plants.
Okay, I didn't know that. And Love Lady says containers need to be fed more.
They do. Yeah. They actually do, because they are in containers and you're watering and all of that leaches out more quickly than it is in the ground. And it also dries out faster. You definitely have to feed your containers more.
Do you see what Gardening with Joy said?
Duncan, he is a sweetie. He is. He got an attitude too. He really does. He has some type of personality. He has an attitude.
Tell people who Duncan is, because they're wondering.
Duncan is my rabbit. And I'm telling you, he is an escape artist. He got out of the cage before, and I had to get him back in the cage. He didn't go nowhere, but he did get out. And he got in Penelope's cage, and I think now I'm going to be expecting babies in the next month.
I think you said in a month turnaround. That's really fast.
Yeah, rabbits reproduce very fast. Their gestation period is probably about little over 30 days for a new rabbit. But yeah, Duncan is an escape artist.
Isn't God's design awesome? Definitely is.
It is. It is. And if we just pay attention to it, that's all he wants is for us to acknowledge it.
Right. Okay. So next you want to talk about, let's see, talking about choosing organic methods. So companion planting and organic pest control. So I wanted to talk about just really quickly about companion planting. That's one of the things that you can do with basically, because plants, they find, bugs, they find your plants by sniffing them out. So if you can confuse them by the different scents or with the different colors or anything like that, just to make it harder for them to find what they want. You can do that by using like herbs and certain things like onions around like tomatoes or something, because they don't like one smell, they'll stay away and they'll be deterred naturally. So that's one thing I want to talk about. And then also, well, you know what? I'll let you, do you want to say anything about companion planting?
Yeah, it's actually, I like to call it intercropping. Parsley is, if you don't know already, parsley is a really, really good herb to plant around just about anything. It's a very good organic pest deterrent. It's like planting basil with your tomatoes. You know what I mean? It's just, they just go together. You know what I mean?
Right.
I've always, ever since I've started gardening, when I plant my tomatoes, basil goes with my tomatoes.
Right.
It's just given, you know. But parsley, look it up. If you don't know, I don't want to go too far into detail because of time. But parsley is a really good herb to intercrop with just about everything. And then I also wanted to mention, you don't want to, if you have the ability, you don't want to put all of your same type of plant together.
Right. All of the same family. Yeah.
Yes.
Because it just makes it a breeding ground. They love to do them. When you
don't want to have a monoculture.
Right.
You want to have it a little bit diverse. Put tomatoes over here, but don't put all your tomatoes over there. If you can, space it out a little bit. Tomatoes, a pepper, you know, peas or beans, and then another tomato. Or, you know what I mean? But don't put all of your plants together, because if you get tomato hornworm infestation, all your tomatoes are in that section and they're just going to have a smorgasbord.
Right.
But if you kind of separate it all, it'll be harder for those pests to find those plants that they're looking for.
Yeah. Okay. It's a little lagging, but I think you were finished. But with tomatoes also, when you brought that up, I just found out that mums are really good also to plant with the tomatoes, because they can help deter nematodes. And so when you're planting together, some things help each other, like how the beans will help the lettuces because they give the nitrogen, they fix the nitrogen. So you can also do it that way. Also, like you said, parsley, I believe that also helps with the hornworms as well. So yeah, even planting in the flowers as well, just like you said, diversity. Marigold. Permaculture. Yeah, marigolds are very good for pests too. So all those things work together in tandem.
Yeah, and then you don't have to worry about so much spraying and things like that. Even though I do use a little bit of neem oil, which is an organic pest control, it also works as a disease control as well. The neem oil is really good for disease and pest. So that's the only thing that I use in the garden is neem oil. I use
BT. That's also organic, because it's edible to us. It's not going to harm pets or anything like that, but it's just for the worms, because it's just the bacteria, and so it kind of messes with their stomach once they eat it. But I want to make sure we will say hello to Angela.
Angela, hello.
And then also TT's question. She said, should the leaves be mulched? That's what my, I guess, father-in-law said. So with that, you mean shredded? Yeah, you can shred it. Like, it'll help it to break down faster, and you'll get more airflow when it's not big chunks of leaves if you do break it up, but you don't have to. It just will take longer to break down.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, it looks like also Diva Jones answered. She says, I never chop mine. I just chopping them will help speed it up. Oh, yeah. She said exactly. Let's see. And then Angela, I saw your video. What is this? I saw your video getting your spring bed ready. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. You got to plan now. You got to plan ahead. That's one of the best things you can do as a beginner gardener is to plan. You got to have a plan. I like to have a journal. I like to keep a journal because that way from one year to the next, I can plan accordingly. So if I know that in June, the squash bugs are going to be out, then I know that I need to start planning in June for preventive measures for squash bugs. Mm-hmm. Or if I know that, you know, it's just keeping a journal helps me to remember things from last year. That way I learn from mistakes that I've made or from things that I might have overlooked.
Okay. Oh, and we're getting closer to the hours. So at the end, we'll put in Indiana's link so you can go to her channel because we'll do the next part on the next live on hers. And I just want to make sure we do answer the questions before we go. So Art of Creation says, basil with tomatoes works great to keep away tomato hornworm moths. Did it for the first time this year, and it worked awesome. Okay.
Yep. Definitely.
Did I miss anything else? She's showing some worms. Let's see, but don't put soap mix in the BT in my diva voice. That's Diva Jones. Yeah, she just did a video. She said
soap mix
BT and put soap in it. You know how you put like a small drops of soap in with water?
Oh, like Dawn?
Yeah, like just any dish soap with water to help with the bugs. With things like it can help smother the eggs of different
right.
So yeah, and she says pests don't like small strong smelling herbs like basil, rosemary. Yeah.
Yep. Chives, sage, oregano, all of those herbs help to keep pests away.
Right. Okay. And let me see. Is there anything that you wanted to say about that topic? Any more about that topic? And if anybody has any tips for beginner gardeners, make sure you leave that below and let us know also your growing zone. So people that have the same growing zone, if you have channels, you can, link up or ask questions, more specific, give your best tips and what you recommend that beginner gardeners grow. And let's see. And also, so that's all that you said about the companion planting and pest control. And then also there's some plants that don't do well together. Also, like I learned that dill isn't really good to plant with tomatoes. It's good when you first get the tomatoes established, but once there's actual fruit, they say that it can stunt tomatoes' growth. And some things like onions and legumes, I say it a lot, like the peas and the beans, they don't do well together. It can actually change the taste, and it also will stunt the beans as well. So it's really important just to, and if you have, like you said, a journal, you'll know what works, what didn't work. And you might find some of these things out on your own. So that's one of the things about gardening. You learn a lot by doing. It's not always even just about what you can read. So let's see if we got any comments. Oh, hey, Woman to Woman Homestead. And thank you for joining us. Let us know your zone, but I do know you're in Michigan. And Love Lady says, make sure you have a watering system.
Yes, we did talk about that.
Mm-hmm. Right. And like, I know Love Lady, she lives in Texas. And so it's a lot drier. And so you have different things with the amount of water that you have. And Angela said, I did the Prepper gift basket collaboration. Oh, that's so nice. I can't wait to see that. That was me and Best Yet Journey did that. Let's see. So glad I was able to get in here for a few. Love you, ladies. Both of you are awesome. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you for joining and stopping in to say hello.
He said wind.
I'm sorry, he said wind?
Wind has us taking cover, 6A. The wind is really bad here as well in Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
Terrible today. Terrible.
Right. I can't wait to see that video, Angela. And thank you for doing that. Okay, let's see. Did you want to touch on the trimming and pruning? And maybe that'll be the last one. And if you guys have any questions or even questions for the people that are in the chat as well that are in your zone.
I think trimming and pruning can also help with the organic pest control because, and not only pest control, but disease control. You don't want your tomatoes and peppers and your different squash and zucchini plants getting disease because they don't have proper airflow. So trimming those extra leaves and things off of your plants will help your plants to get the proper airflow. So like if it rains and you've got an abundance of leaves all on top of each other, they're going to have a hard time drying out. And that moisture sitting on your leaves is going to create disease. And then that disease is going to take your plant out and then you'll be discouraged. So don't get discouraged. I want new gardeners to not get discouraged. Something that works for me might not work for you. Something that works for Triple H might not work for me, but you have to learn your garden. You have to learn your area. You have to learn what works best for you. So you can take all of this advice in, but you still have to learn through trial and error.
Right. And like what you said too, what I noticed is when I wasn't trimming the tomatoes, that's when we would get all those worms and, you know, the caterpillars will lay its eggs and everything like that. And it really gets out of control. And so you want to make sure you keep up with the trimming, with the pruning, like you said, for disease problems as well. And with tomatoes, I really think that it does make a difference when you're pruning off all the suckers and you kind of even do the single stem. I found out you can do that with bell peppers too. That really helped me with more production because I've shown what my tomato harvest looked like before when I wasn't doing those methods.
You can prune cucumbers because you know cucumbers can get out of control. They will take over if you let them. So you can prune cucumbers, you can prune watermelon, you can prune just about any plant to keep it under control. So when you master the pruning thing, then you can control your plants a little bit better and control how much space they take up, control their growing conditions, control the airflow. And then pruning also helps to promote growth. The more you prune off of it, the more it's going to grow. So if you're pruning the plant, it's sending messages to the plant that I have to keep producing because I'm losing over here. I have to keep producing. I have to keep growing. I have to keep, you know, it's like a defense mechanism almost. And the more you prune, the more it's going to produce.
Right. So I want to just everybody give your best tip for what grows well in your zone. But I want to just go back and mention people's zones. So Angela was 7A. Just so people can go back and find people if they want to that are in their same zone. Beshet was in 8A. I know that we had some, you're in 5. TT is probably in 5 too. We had some 6s. I believe that was Woman to Woman Homestead that said that. I was trying to find it. 8B was Gigi's Naturals. 5A was in London. Okay. So that's even closer to yours. 7A, Gardening with Joy. 9A is Pit Stop Kitchen and Garden. So definitely link up with people that have the same zone as you, see what they're growing, and maybe it might work for you too. Okay, so let me make sure I get to the comments. Okay, like and say greenhouse is glowing. Okay, I think she must be talking about your greenhouse. And
I don't know.
Let's see. Oh, please hit the like button. Thank you. Thank you, Tina. You should always remove those low branches on tomatoes that lay low to the ground, right? For the same reasons like you were saying with the
because then you can avoid getting blight on your tomatoes. That's a common disease that happens with tomatoes. It's called blight. And basically it's just the water splashing from the ground up onto the leaves. And those bacteria and different microorganisms that are in the ground and on your soil will splash up on leaves. And that's going to create the bacteria that creates the blight.
Oh, hello, Rhonda. Make sure we say hello to Rhonda. She said she's in 6B. Thank you for sharing the information. I'm in zone 6B. Winds are high. Make sure if you have house, weigh it down with cement blocks or anchors. Yes. It's a really good tip. And I think Woman to Woman Homestead, if you're here, did you say you're in 6B too? And Best Yet says she recommends Chinese eggplant. I know eggplants are one of the most productive of all of the more productive than like the peppers and everything else. I'm trying to think of the name. Oh, the nightshade family. They're really productive. I think you only need maybe about 1 to 2 per person to actually have enough to eat for the year. She says, Best Yet, are you growing those? And she says, yes. Okay. 6B, I just missed it. 6B, Art of Creation Homestead is also in 6B. Best Yet, stay out of my seed collection. Grow, yes, that's what Indiana said. Grow what you like to eat that is able to grow in your zone. Yeah. Let's see, growing green, leafy greens and brassicas. Yeah, that's what we also talked about too. Like lettuce is something that's very easy. And you also said Swiss chard, especially if you're in a warmer zone. Like for me, it will probably fare better when you're first starting with your fall planting than some of the others that do not like the heat at all.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Amen, Gigi. Hey, Pitts. Remember, the same zone doesn't give you the same effect in your gardening. Yeah, definitely. So always, you want to say something about that or?
No, that's true. We did touch on that a little bit. That what for you might not work for me, and we can be in the same zone.
Right. Yeah. But also what I like to do is find someone who's doing better than what I'm doing or does something that I want to do in the future that has the same zone, because to me, it also lets me know, okay, my expectations, if they're too high or, if it's something I can do, and people that experiment as well, because don't limit yourself to, if it says you can only grow it in zone 8 and I'm in zone 7, I might try it and I might put it inside. So don't limit yourself. 6A, Woman to Woman Homestead. Okay. Recently, let me show this one. Recently started growing indoors. Also, weather here is stripping out. Yeah. That's what you said about the wind. Right. That's what you were saying was messing with your connection, the wind too. Spinach grows great in the winter. That's one thing I found out, that I could actually plant it in my zone still in November to grow some spinach. So it always works to experiment. Pink eye, purple holes, peas grow great everywhere. Have you grown those?
Got some of those. I'm going to grow those next year. I just got some of those seeds.
Where did you get those from? Where did you get the seeds from?
I got those on Listia.
Okay. I've never heard of that.
Yeah. I think I just made a video on, was it my 40 question challenge? My 40 question challenge video, I have some happy mail incorporated in that video. And I went over the different places I got some seeds from.
Right. Okay.
And coupons.
Okay. So we are over an hour. So let's, can you put your link in so you guys can go and subscribe to her as well if you like her information, if you're in a similar zone. And we'll be doing a part 2. I don't know when, so I won't say a date, but we'll have to link up and do another one for more tips for beginners or maybe even people that are in their second year, third year. If you guys have any more tips, though, to add before we leave, just quickly. But if not, we'll be going. But we'll wait for you to put your link in there. And so anybody who joins afterwards, they can also look at the link as well. And thank you all, everybody, for joining. If we missed something, make sure you put it in here. So maybe we'll talk about it on the next one too. Let's see the comments that came in. Oh, okay. Art of Creation got them from Baker Creek. And great to catch you, ladies. Have a great evening. Thank you. Enjoy your Sunday, everyone. Thank you, Joy. Thank you all for joining. We on such short notice. Everybody that put information in here, thank you all. Thank you, ladies. Have a blessed day. I look forward to seeing your video, Angela. Just remember to always be kind and hopeful, young world. Thank you, Lydia.
I can't get the link in. I don't have a box for the comments.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to see maybe if I can put it in there. Does anybody have access to put it in there for the people that are interested? If not, just search Indiana Backyard Gardener to find her channel. And thank you all, though, for joining. And so I guess if there's nothing else, we'll end it here. Let me see if I can maybe add it on my phone.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Put it in my phone.
Put it in the description. Yeah, I'm going to put it in the description, but I just want to, for anybody who wants to just go to it straight, I didn't want to put it in there. Did anybody put it in? No. Okay. Okay, I'm going to put it in now.
Yeah, just put it in the description.
You did? Oh, I'm putting it there now. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. And we'll see